Hello everybody and welcome to chapter 3 of the book of Vayikra as we continue to travel through Tanach. Chapter 3 has 17 verses and it starts in the Koren Sachs Chumash on page 662 and 663. Well, so far in chapter 1 we saw the Ola, the burnt offering. In chapter 2 we saw the Mincha, the grain offering. And now in chapter 3 we're going to be talking about the Korban Shlamim, often translated as the peace offering. Unlike the Ola that we saw in chapter 1, which is entirely burnt up, the Shlamim is divided among 3 groups. Certain parts are going to be burnt on the altar for Hashem. Certain portions are going to be given to the Kohanim. And the rest, the meat, most of the meat, is going to be eaten by the owner of this Korban together with their family. And that is one of the reasons why it's called a Korban Shlamim, because it brings shalom, peace, and by sharing it with the owner and their family and the Kohanim and the Mizbeach, it is a way of fostering peace and wholeness and harmony. And that's why it's mentioned in chapter 3. As a voluntary offering, it has a special meaning to Hashem, which is why the Torah prioritizes it before some of the obligatory offerings that we are still yet to learn about. This would be brought voluntarily in order to be able to celebrate peace, or well-being, or gratitude, or closeness to Hashem. Any individual wishing to express thanks or deepen their relationship with Hashem would bring a shlamim. As we will see, a person can bring a shlamim from their cattle or from their flocks, and it could be male or female, which is one major difference from the Ola. Once again, a person would bring an animal free from significant defects, and they would do smicha, they would place both their hands firmly on the animal, which symbolizes the personal connection and their identification with the offering in question. And then, as with the Ola, the animal would be slaughtered in a process that we call shechita. The Kohen would collect the blood, take it to the altar, sprinkle it around the altar, in a process that is shared with all other sacrifices. But then unique to the Shlamim, the Kohanim would carefully remove specific fats, the fat covering the innards of the animal, the fat around the kidneys. He would take the kidneys themselves and certain additional designated portions, and these parts would be burnt on the altar. The remaining meat would then be prepared, and part would go to the Kohanim, and most would go back to the owner. And then the owner and his family would eat the meat within the prescribed time. And the meal becomes part of the mitzvah. It's a festive meal infused with gratitude, holiness, and awareness of Hashem's blessings. So the messaging behind the Korban Shlamim is still relevant today, because many people only turn to spirituality during a time of crisis. But the Shlamim teaches us something different. You don't need a problem to connect with Hashem. You can connect because life is good, because you received good news, because your family is healthy, because you're grateful. And so the Korban Shlamim helps transform these moments into holy moments. With that introduction in mind, let us turn to chapter 3, verse 1. V'im zevach shlamim korbano, if his sacrifice is a peace offering, im min habakar hu makriv, if he offers it from cattle, im zachar im nekeva, whether male or female, tamim yakrivenu lifnei Adonai. The animal one offers before Hashem must be without blemish. Verse 2, V'samach yado al rosh korbano, he shall lean his hands upon the head of his offering, which we call smicha, ushchato pesach ohel moed, and he shall slaughter it at the entrance of the tent of meeting. V'zarku b'nei Aaron ha-kohanim, and the sons of Aaron, the kohanim, should sprinkle es hadam, the blood, al ha-mizbeach saviv, all around the altar. Verse 3, V'hikriv mizevach hashlamim ishel Adonai, from the peace offering he shall offer it as a fire offering to Hashem. Es hachelev, the fats, hamachase es hakerev, that covers the innards. Ves kol hachelev asher al hakerev, and all the fat that is upon the innards as well. Verse 4, Ves shtei haklayos, and the 2 kidneys. Ves hachelev asher alehen, and the fats that are upon them. Asher al aksalim, that is upon the flanks. Ves hayoseres al kaved, and the diaphragm of the liver. Al haklayos yesirena, which should be removed with the kidneys. Verse 5, V'hiktiru osa b'nei Aaron hamizbecha, the sons of Aaron shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar. Al ha'ola, besides the burnt offering, asher al ha'itzim asher al ha'esh, that is on the wood that is on the fire. Ishei reach nichoch l'Adonai, a fire offering, a satisfying and pleasing aroma to Hashem. Now it's important for us to understand we've used this phrase often, Reach nichach laHashem. It's repeated throughout Vayikra, and it probably raises the question, does Hashem enjoy the smell of burning meat? And the Torah itself and our rabbis make it clear that the answer is no. After all, Hashem has no body, no nose, and no physical needs. So our rabbis explain that really what we are saying is that it gives Hashem satisfaction, that he made a commandment and his will was fulfilled. In other words, the pleasing aroma is not about the smell, but about the relationship. The smoke rising upwards symbolizes human beings taking something physical and directing it towards a higher purpose. So when we hear Reach Nichach, even though we translate it as a pleasing aroma to Hashem, what it's really saying is that this act creates divine satisfaction because it reflects a sincere human heart. Verse 6, V'minatzon korbanot, if his offering is from the flock, L'zevach shlamim ladonai, as a shlamim, a peace offering to Hashem, Zachar or Nekeva, Tamim yakrivenu, whether it's male or female, it must be without blemish. Verse 7, Im kesev hu makrives korbano, if he brings a sheep as his offering, V'hikriv oso lifnei Adonai, he shall present it before Hashem. Verse 8, V'samach es yado al rosh korbano, and he shall rest his hands upon the head of the sacrifice, V'shochat oso lifnei Ohel Moed, and sacrifice it before the entrance of the tent of meeting, V'zarku b'nei Aharon es damo al hamizbeach saviv, and the sons of Aaron shall sprinkle its blood all around the altar. Verse 9, V'hikriv mizevach hashlamim ishel Adonai, and he shall offer up from the peace offering, as a fire offering to Hashem, chelbo ha'aliyah smima, the whole broad tail, lumas he'atzeh yesirena, removed close to the backbone, v'esachelev hamachase esakerev, and the fat that covers the entrails, the innards, v'eskolachelev asher al hakerev, and all the fat surrounding them. Verse 10, v'eshtei haklayos, and the two kidneys, v'esachelev asher aleihen, and the fats that are on them, asher al ksalim, which are on them at the flanks, v'es hayoseres al kaved, and the diaphragm of the liver, al klayos yesirena, which should be removed with the kidneys. Verse 11, v'hiktira hakohen hamizbecha, the Kohen shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar, lechem ishel Adonai, it is the food of the fire for Hashem. Verse 12, v'im eiz korbano, if his offering is a goat, v'hikriv olifnei Adonai, he shall bring it before Hashem. Verse 13, V'samach es yado al rosho, and he shall rest his hands upon its head. V'shachat oso lifnei Ohel Moed, and he shall slaughter it before the entrance of the tent of meeting. V'zarku b'nei Aharon es damo al hamizbeach saviv, and the sons of Aaron shall sprinkle its blood all around the altar. Verse 14, V'hikriv mimenu korbano ishel Adonai, he shall bring his offering from it as a fire offering to Hashem. Es hachelev hamachase es hakerev, the fat that covers the innards. V'es kol hachelev asher al hakerev, and all the fat that is upon the innards. Verse 15, V'es shtei haklayos, and the two kidneys, V'es hachelev asher aleihen, asher al ksalim, and the fat that is upon them, that is upon the flanks. V'es hayoseres al kaved, and the diaphragm of the liver, al klayos yisirena, shall be removed with the kidneys. Verse 16, V'ktira makohen hamizbecha, the Kohen shall cause them to go up in smoke on the altar. Lechem ishe l'reach nichach kol chelev ladonai, the food of the fire for a satisfying aroma, all the choice parts for Hashem. And finally, verse 17, Chukas olam l'dorosechem b'chol moshvasechem. This is an everlasting statute throughout your generations, in all your dwelling places. Kol chelev v'chol dam lo sochelu. You may never consume any fat or any blood. And that brings us to the end of chapter 3. In chapter 4, we're going to read about the chatas, the sin offering. I look forward to learning that chapter with you soon. In the meantime, have a wonderful and meaningful day.